Hello and welcome to the Aaron Roussos podcast. It is fantastic to have you here today. Let's talk numbers, synchronicities. Okay. Obviously at the moment, I have never seen across the globe, this has got nothing to do or isolated to my town or state or even country. People are finding number synchronicities everywhere we go. The first one was 1111, which is the calling of illumination. It was the forecalling of a time where the end of they call it the procession of the equinoxes. It's the end of an age. We're going through a bit of a shift. The accelerated time of shift happens every 2,150 years approximately, and it was obviously, if 11 is an illuminating and intuitive number, then you couldn't have picked a more, spiritual number to awaken the species, I guess, because this number synchronicities, which is really important to know before we get into each number and how they come about. Number synchronicities, are so important because they come at a time from an internal place. And what I mean by that, they come from an internal place, I'm trying to explain to you that there is no book, there is no doctrine, there is no group, system, prophet. There's no one thing that is alerting people to their divinity and their synchronicity in numbers. Yet, very rarely can I go out on a day and not see someone with a 444 tattoo, an 1111 tattoo, a 777 necklace. We're finding necklaces, tattoos, and everyone has their own little, synchronicity numbers. So, I've spoken many times about, over last year, I think it was, I was doing Zoom meetings, and there was people sitting there from all around the world, and there was a lady from from Norway that was sitting there with a big 444 tattoo. Now, she was in Norway, there was someone else in London. We're all thinking the same thing from all around the world with these numbers. And, people are calling it their angel numbers, which is cool. Okay. I don't want to burst your bubble. I don't want to be that guy, but you do have, angels, but they're not necessarily like we portray them in our cultures and societies with wings and light, white sort of thing. Eh? These angels are energies. There's 3 of them. And your soul can be a guide and an angel for other souls that are having a human experience here on Earth as well. There's a system that we're part of that we don't know. And, so 1111 was a big one. It was sort of, everyone looked at the clock and it was 1111, and it seemed to be this thing going on, and it was all around the world, and all the people I talked to, it was a movement, right? It was a real movement without, as I said, without a doctrine, without anyone that, so where's it come from? Do you know what I mean? It's coming from the divine place, our soul part. And so it's a stage that we're going through. So that, and with anything that happens with us on Earth, it's always long, slow and uncomfortable. So So who could be leaving you angel numbers? What do they mean? And how can you take advantage of it, I guess, is probably a more important question. Now, as I just mentioned before, you have energetic guides. You have loved ones that have passed over. You got to remember, if the universe has a bias, its highest expression, the bias, the most beautiful thing is unconditional love. So everything that supports us, whether we're having experience on Earth here, whether we're stuck on the soul soup, everything around whatever we do is all going to be supported by that system. Okay, it's not going to be from another system. It's not going to be something that we think. It's going to be what is. And human beings are very good at trying to explain things with the linear 3D mind about the spiritual parts of us, but the fact remains that a soul is an extremely complex and far-reaching, far more simple, far more than just a simple explanation with a word. Most of the things that are spiritual that we live with today, that we commonly go along with, we use metaphors to explain something that we can't explain. That's how that's how we are explaining all this spiritual stuff. Now, for many years across the world, the spiritual parts, and you only have to go back to the 60s, which is still, what is it now, 40, 50, 60, nearly 60 years ago. Spirituality has been around then, but back then, mentally, our consciousness was at a lowered collective state, which makes us a little bit like ogres, a bit not really understanding, not aware of the world, not understanding, not aware of the world around us. And so we looked at that spiritual stuff as woo-woo, and it was something that only some not chosen people, but definitely a minority of people went down that path. Now, for 56 years this has been going on, and this 1111 thing and this number synchronicities and all this stuff that's going on is completely different to all of that spiritual stuff, even that we called woo-woo, that has been developing and going on since the 60s. This is the procession of the equinoxes. This is the greatest shift that you'll experience in this lifetime. It was in some ancient calendars, and without sort of explaining all of the ancient calendars, how they work, and getting into it, let's just say that this time was predicted, and we also, as far as, especially with the Mayan calendar, there's definitely some things around us reaching a point, a marker. And the marker that we've reached, if reached, means that we are the longest, are you ready for it? We are the longest standing earthlings on this planet. Okay, you don't know the history of this planet over the last 30 million years. You've got to remember, Earth, as far as its development goes, was a ball of molten and fire for nearly 20 million years before the fire started ceasing down, and micronutrients and photosynthesis and water and all these things started microbial life. 20 million years of a burning ball of fire. So you can imagine, the things that we don't know. It all makes sense when you stand back and look at it, and if you knew it, but we don't. So because because this planet has had people that have tried before, we know that we've been wiped out maybe by a flood or maybe by a comet, or, when we lost the dinosaurs and stuff like that. But really, we don't know the full history, and there's been many a time where we didn't make it over the years, and we didn't, we had to start again. And then there's a whole process that when you're seeding a planet, you don't know the system we're part of, and what it is, I'll give it to you in the simplest form possible. You're an earthling right here on this planet now. You're just going to keep reincarnating here until this planet becomes, it reaches a state of graduated planet status. Okay, we've all mastered it here collectively. We don't kill each other anymore. We've got to a state where we're all grown up and we're running the planet positively, like we should be, based on who we are, the system we're part of, and how it all works. Okay, you wouldn't have a bias of love and then go and throw an economic system into the mix. Okay, so, have we got it right? Maybe not. Is it that bad? No. We continually move on, and everything is a merge. So we're in a time where we're in unprecedented times for the planet and for our human spirituality, meaning we've never made it this far before on this planet. We've passed a marker, and what happens is, the Human Genome Project is commonly known that, these scientists that are studying it only know because they're only dealing with the physical and the 3D linear, sort of really limiting themselves with what they learn about the Human Genome Project, but they know that 3.5% of it does it. It's the, they know what it does and the process and everything, but that's a very small amount of your DNA, and there's a whole lot left, right? And the rest of it is the blueprint of your divinity that you don't know yet. I don't know all the intricate workings of it and how it works, and this sort of stuff is something that we obviously have to measure, test, and start evolving and share. So then if you know the system, and then you know how we act and stuff, and then when things happen, you can start relating it and understanding why. You can say, well, why are these numbers popping up? Well, when you look at your DNA, and we're developing as human beings, if you look, we're not really, with our personal development, it's not 3D linear like school. You don't go there and learn a list from 1 to 10. It's when you reach certain markers or certain awareness or understand things that opens up or unlocks the next part of the time capsule. And these time capsules with these special abilities and these things that we're going to be able to do as humanity, as a race, that we haven't been able to do before, means that the new tech, the new industrial revolution, the new movement over the next 30 years coming through this accelerated time of shift for the precession of the equinoxes, that means that the human is the new tech. The biggest discovery now is us. That's what it's about. You're not going to get much more in technology now. We're pretty much done. The Industrial Revolution's done. That's done. It's now down to the next stage of development in our journeys here, and it's us. There's connection that we can have. There's things that we can enhance in ourselves that make us superhuman-like, that give us abilities and skills that do just what we have been fearful about in the previous couple of incarnations. We're scared of having accidents, of chance, there's a huge level of protection available to each and every one of us where we don't have to endure that. But hey, if you we also live on the only planet of free choice in the galaxy, which means we are fully, if you want to embrace what I say and believe it and use it, then it'll work. If you don't want to be part of it and you want to carry on living your identity crisis life, doing what you want, then that's your choice. You can do that as well. And there's no judgment either way. We're not asking or forcing. And that's where, I think the energy of a conspiracy theorist, trying to project or trying to tell you what they've discovered is not a good energy. If you were trying to awaken someone to a bigger reality, I guess I don't know what the right way to do it. I'm just saying it's probably not because it's been negatively received, but, the rule should be, once again, if we're dealing with what's the parameters, what's the best possible experiences that you could have here on the planet, what's the right thing for everyone and for me. And it's basically that I can go on a spiritual journey if I want to and find out things and have the most amazing life I want, and that's my right. You have your right to do whatever you want, but as a right to be given the freedom to move and use your own free will, that also means no judgment, pass no judgment on anyone else. Now, we know that we're extremely judgmental, condemning race of people. It doesn't matter what country you live in. Putting shit on someone, I mean, I know it's the Australian way, but putting shit on someone and condemning them is the easiest way to null and void your manifesting anything for your abundance and for your life moving forward. So there's laws, there's mechanics, and there's mechanics within the system, and it's spiritual. So nothing that you can sort of think of with your linear 3D mind is going to work, and nothing is going to fit. It's not like you've got the receptor for it and you're just putting it back together. It just works differently. It just hits differently. And when you go on a spiritual journey, you find out these things. So let's get back to these numbers. Now that we've got a really good basis, or foundation, I should say, for the energy in these numbers. Now, who is alerting your conscious mind to number synchronicities, whether it be on number plates, on ovens, on clocks, in your car, or whatever. We've got access to these numbers, and I talk to people about moving energy around when they're doing these healing programs, and this is a prime example. You're not going to see any number synchronicities if you sit at home and look at the same clock, do you? But if you go out and you drive past a clock and you drive past, 1,000 number plates, and you've got your clock in your car with, multiple number synchronicities that you can be drawn to, then you've opened yourself up to be able to receive. You can't receive unless you're open and receptive to being a receiver. You can't accept love unless you're open and ready to accept love. It just doesn't work. We all know that we've tried to give people love that are closed off to it. It doesn't work, and a lot of people, it's hurt. So we know that we've got to be open and receptive to this, and we go out and we find all these number synchronicities. Okay, here's the biggest takeaway from it. And once again, when it comes down to spiritual, when I was on my spiritual journey and people were telling me things for the first time, like I'm telling you about certain spiritual things that go on in life, I didn't like the answer. Okay? It's not where you think things come from, because if you don't know what you don't know, you can't see where things come from. You can't even try and become good at it. Okay, so the number synchronicities. Okay, when you've got, I'll show you one that I experienced when I was making protocols. Loved ones passed, that are your grandparents that are passed, other loved people that have been taken too early. Because the bias of the universe is love, right? Those number synchronicities is the people that you love, that they love you as well, right? And they're giving you signs, synchronicities, and downloads the only way they can, right? It's not a two-way conversation like down on here on Earth with us communicating. It never is. I don't know if you've ever seen one of those psychic mediums at any event, really. They're not there having a two-way conversation with spirit. They're there getting, oh, I just felt like smelt vanilla, or I just sensed this, or I just did that, or he's showing me a bike, or da-da-da. They're not, it would be a lot easier if they just went, hey, tell him I said, how's the bike going? It doesn't work like that. It's not a community, you know what I mean? It just doesn't work. So spirit, an ex-loved one, your angels, all the rest of it, doesn't mix well with a 3D human being. It doesn't mean they don't mix. It just means there's only one way to decode them. Okay? So for me, and each one of us, there is some form of personal symbolism. But for me, lyrebirds, finding coins, feathers, the big one for me. Walking along my path and running into different feathers, lyrebirds and butterflies. The two probably big ones for me is feathers and butterflies. You know, in the most randomest full-on thing, the butterfly will walk into my path. Now, these are what they call a sign from loved ones. Okay, I don't really feel like I've had these sorts of signs and synchronicities from other energy things, because I can sort of decipher, and I've done lots of podcasts on this. So your loved ones can give you signs, synchronicities, and downloads. They can give you number synchronicities as well, but they're mainly those other ones. And that's a proverbial keep your head up, keep going, you're on the right track, what are you doing? You know, it's the form of protection that they give you. They pick you up and put you somewhere else to avoid problems. So you need to be a little bit aware of what's going on around you to be able to feel these things, right? They're not like a normal signs and synchronicities where you can be in a loud world and still see them. No, you have to slow down. And you should anyway, right? What happens when you rush? You miss stuff, you miss details, bad things happen, you make decisions in haste, da-da-da-da. We know the parameters of what works and what doesn't work, yet we keep doing the wrong thing because these bastards have taken us for 14 years and put us into a education system and just put us on repeat. They haven't taught us anything. They've taught us how to be compliant, subservient, community members that don't critically think, that become part of the team, get a job, build a house. They give us the parameters of which we can make it a dream life, or what we think is a dream life. Then our biology kicks in and we've got fear of missing out. We want to be like the Joneses, and we carry on. The next thing, we just don't know why the fuck we're doing anything. So you could imagine if you're having a hard day and you walk up and you see a feather and you go, oh, yeah, all right. That's a loved one saying to you, mate, don't worry about it. Keep your chin up. Go going. You're right. You're on the right path. You'll also get, I guess the most important thing about these number synchronicities as well that I've sort of come to realise, which is probably the most important thing about it, about number synchronicities in general, is that these number synchronicities that are happening to you they also have can have what they call a personal meaning to you. Okay, so some people have charts and it's like 111, 222, 333. What they mean: one is protection, one is the new beginnings, one is luck, and thingo da da da. So it's almost like for me that my guides have sort of got the same poster as what I've got, and we're working with the same number synchronicities. So these numbers that come to you when you're on path, this is the most important thing about number synchronicities, okay? When you're on your path for your highest good, right? Not what you want to do, what you think you want to do, what's actually best, right for you. When you're on this path, the more aligned you are with your true self, your true being, and your destiny, the more number synchronicities you see. If you haven't seen a number synchronicity for days, you're on a different path. You're back ingrained a little bit too deep into the 3D linear bogan life, not conscious, here on earth, not aware, not understanding. You might be rushing a little bit too much, or when you're, it's like when you're, what flow is? To get into a state of flow is when you're studying or whatever and you look up and you've lost 3 hours on the clock. You get so intently focused on the task at hand that your awareness opens up and you get into flow. You get into flow states. High performance sports people and extreme sports people and everyone, they all use flow. Flow's the reason why human performance keeps breaking the records and keeps breaking the boundaries and moving forward. So if you're going about your daily life and there's signs and synchronicities everywhere, means keep it going. You're on song, mate. If you don't see nothing, start aligning back to the true self. Okay, because if you're not seeing the numbers, no one's alerting and bringing the attention to you. So the numbers can mean whatever you want to mean them, and your spiritual team will back that up. They'll run off your poster. If you've got a poster that says 111 is new beginnings, embrace it, have an open mind and be creative and and remember to take everyone along for a ride, and that's your solid 111, then you're going to run with that and your spirit team will get on board. So you've got loved ones that are sending you messages. These are very subtle messages, okay? It's, any form of other, protection, guidance, support and everything is a combined energy, and it's a different thing to a loved one giving you a little message to say, I'm here, I love you, keep going, hold your head up, you're doing the right thing. Don't worry about, you'll find that you'll get them as well when bad things happen and you're like, oh, and you're really down on yourself, and then you'll see it and you go, yep, don't be so hard on yourself. So, loved ones, sending you synchronicities, including numbers. Guides, you've got 3 guides. Everyone's got 3 guides. They've been in and out of every reincarnation with you for the last million years. They know you better than you do. That's why they're energetically there as well. There's only 3, no more than 3. It fits in with the patterning of all life through geometry, and the 3s within everything, and the physics, the quantum physics, and the universe, and da-da-da. You've also got, this is probably the most fascinating part of number synchronicities. The majority of your number synchronicities, you ready for this? The most amount of all your number synchronicities that you see comes from your own soul. Okay? when you reincarnate here, you come through in a transition. The transition takes about 3 days. You come in as a human being, you grow up, and part of your soul stays back over there. Parts of your soul is a guide for other people having an experience here on earth, and might be even over the other side of the veil. There's only 2 places you can be, here and there. Here is a human being having an experience. And basically, if you're not here, you're there, and which is stuck onto the soul suit, which is something you probably can't get your mind around. But just imagine holographically being stuck onto this big soul suit where you can use your mind to create all sorts of things, scenarios. There's people that you love, their experiences. There's people that you might have had, reincarnated here with 50 times. That's why we get a familiarity with complete strangers here on earth. These things we don't know, we don't understand, because we've been too distracted in trying to survive here. So you are bringing your attention to numbers on the clock. Why would you be needing to be woken up from something? Why would you need to alert yourself? Okay, if there was a system that you're part of, you come in here, you have amnesia, and your whole thing over millions of years is to develop in and out of these reincarnation loops through the bias, which is love, gaining spiritual bang for your buck and growth. And we come down, we reincarnate, and now I'm here and I'm alerting myself to the clock. 555, 555, change. I'm getting lots of 9s at the moment. It's to do with completion and getting towards the end of some projects and bits and pieces. But the reason why you would have to awaken yourself, or why this whole system is continually, and this is exclusive to the 11:11 thing, okay? That was a bit of a procession of the equinox. That's for everyone. And it's crazy, right? 11:11, that whole phenomenon, the numbers, the tattoos, the people, worshipping the symbolizing of 11:11, they're all around the world. Do you know how amazing it sounds? Not stupid, but that there's someone in London, someone in America, someone dotted in Norway, everywhere, all around the world. We've never spoken to each other, but we all have 11:11 paraphernalia. Where does that come from? This is an internal thing, because that 96.5% of our DNA that we don't know what it contains, and it contains our divinity, a template for our divinity, energetic blueprint. It has a lot of information which we don't know how to decipher yet, right? We've come along many years and we didn't know what a microbe was until we had a telescope that was strong enough to see it. It's the same thing. There's lots of people that are, especially in quantum physicists, say, for instance, that are looking at the quantum side of life. Now, this quantumness, I would presume that one day in the future we will have the ability to see quantumness, because obviously the rest of the universe does, and it's part of our existence, and it's ingrained in the soul, and it's in our DNA, and it's governed by the innate, which is what a kinesiologist muscle tests with. So basically, that's the reason why number synchronicities, and it doesn't have to be something profound and big, because you'll notice that anything from the universe is always a subtle hint, and that's because of free will being honoured. And it's completely a negative thing in this duality and polarity here on earth to control someone, right? You know, we're talking about bias and love, and unconditional love is the highest. Well, marriage is a condition and comes with many conditions. It's not the highest expression of love, okay? There are higher states of love. There are higher states in everything. And so this whole number synchronicity thing is just another tool that the universe uses to awaken us to our divinity, okay? And it's never going to, you know, be a huge hammer coming down going, stop, you're all part of this system, because it's non-controlling, non-judgmental, you know, so you can only do things in such a subtle and beautiful way. And it all comes down to energy. We know that love and hugging someone, being in love is a beautiful thing, and you can feel the chemicals, and they're different chemicals changing within us than if you were angry and had cortisol running through your veins. Okay? Two different energies doing two different things. The energy of the universe would want to come to us with number synchronicities in a nice subtle hint, then crashing and bringing our world down. Personally, you know, other forms of loud awakenings can be very bad things that happen on a personal level for individuals. That's another story altogether, and I've done that a few podcasts of that. So our number synchronicities are basically part of our entourage, they're called, our energetic team, getting signs, synchronicities and downloads. It's never a bad thing, okay? If you're connected and aware and of high consciousness, the bad things you either get protected from, like they completely get taken out of your way, and it's amazing when you do see this, what can happen, what can be moved out of your way, how you can be held up in this protection phase, and lots of different things. But you're never going to get a sign of something really bad happening through a number of synchronicity, through feathers, through coins, butterflies, lyrebirds. That's always a love thing, right? The bias is love here. That's all the good thing. The protection thing, the bad things that are going to happen, nothing to do with the number synchronicities or the things, sign synchronicities and downloads you get from, you know, protection. Works a completely different way. So you're never going to get a sign from your loved ones that says, oh, something, you know, this is to tell you something bad's going to happen. So you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about the bad things happening. That'll be a different podcast, but hopefully that gives you a really good understanding of number synchronicities, and then behind number synchronicities, why we are being brought to an awakening, and even though we don't know why we're being brought to it. If you've been, you know, coming to this planet and this is your characteristics, this is the way you are, this is the way you act, that's your personality. You know, personalities are developed by the time we're about 5, and they're set in stone. You know, you can't change them. You can change behaviors, but who you are as a person and your, you know, is pretty much like there's a good core set there. Now, you've come to Earth, you've been humanly conditioned, and it's conditioning on top of conditioning on top of it. It's like an onion layering. And all of a sudden, you're walking through the world with addictions, with insecurities, fears, because you're living in this doomsday clock where everyone expects the worst thing to happen, And all these layers kept getting putting on. And what's happened is we need an awakening, because we've gone so far that the conditioning has piled so many layers on this onion that if we don't start going the other way now, we're going to forget who we truly are. Now, people that go and do inner work, they heal. There's processes and things. They process their fears, their insecurities, their wounds, their traumas. They work through everything, and it's a process, and everyone's different in processing times and things like that. Well, what's left when they do this work and when they're not addicted to stuff? And last year when I stopped, eating anything processed, sugar, no drugs, nothing that I could be possibly addicted to see what my own free will decisions are, and are they better? Are they made just for me? And it's true. We make excuses and for our things we're addicted to. So we need to awaken to our true self. So these people that go through and do this healing, and it's very rare because no one's got the time these days just to take off 6 months off life and go and do some personal work. But the people that do, what happens at the end is they're left and they always get quite emotional and cry. And, I did the same thing. I was like, wow, what's left is this thing called the true self. It's me. It is me. It's all about me. But the person you fall in love with, you're like, wow, how can you not love your true self? You know what I mean? It's an amazing experience to go through if you do have the time and know how to heal yourself. And if you're not sure, just send me an email. I'll go through and explain it with you. I'll send you to the right resources to get it all done. Look, you're going to isolate yourself a little bit if you're the only one that's healed on a planet where everyone is unhealed. It can be a little bit daunting, but as you rise in consciousness, you start to understand things a little bit better. So that understanding replaces forgiveness in the eyes of a master. It's another ballroom. So I hope you enjoyed the number synchronicities and how it all works. It's always a good thing. And, you do have an entourage that's here to support you. I'll just add this on to the end because this is a common story that I used to tell in some of my workshops. But imagine like you're sitting in this waiting room up in heaven, the soul soup, whatever you want to call it, and it's your turn to come down. And so you're sitting in the waiting room, and I think different people call it different things, or the wind of birth, or and you're waiting to get transferred into the birth sac of a mother down here on Earth. And it's a 3-day transition from worlds, and you get born into it down here, and then you've got this, I guess, an amnesia, or and so everything starts from that moment on to have this experience down here. And there's you might have had, energetically, you might have come down here, you've reincarnated back into the same family lines, you might have come down with certain things in mind, and that's what people sort of call contracts. Contracts are just a starting point, okay? Because could you imagine if you had a contract to come down to Earth to do this, and then something better came along and no, you have to do that? Yeah, that's why contracts. Everything is not as you seem or not what you think. It's a very surface level, very strange way that humans have just translated things into their own sort of what their own mind and their own level of consciousness can see. Higher levels of consciousness can go to different levels of understanding. Consciousness in itself, if you have a look at the One Project with some amazing scientists and stuff, but the One Project itself has, it proves that consciousness is energy, and it can be measured and it can be used. So we're coming down here to have this human experience, and when you come down here, you got to spend so many years growing up. And then we only have a short life, 75 years. But in previous history, we have lived for hundreds of years. So that is the basis for my longevity program. But it's just more so important to know that it's like this is just like when you do personal development for work. This is just personal development for your soul. It's like being naturally interested in why you're here and ticking away at it. And it's a lot better to constantly spend an hour every week consistently on this part of yourself, because if you completely ignore it, then all of the things, the energy on life that wants you to awaken to this, guess what? It starts giving you loud lessons all the way up to someone close to you passing away, or an accident of chance, or these things that we can't explain. And they're forms of awakening as well, because if you think about spiritual bang for your buck, you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what you might even be doing or what risks you might be putting yourself into. But to take that risk away, to take those bad things away, all you have to do is invest in your personal growth. Isn't that's simple? Just every week, spend a bit of time investing in studying why you're here, how it all works, see what's out there, bits and pieces. You do that, the chances of being in a car accident, someone you know having a terrible ending, that doesn't happen. The universe is not into waking up people, killing people early that you love, killing family members or yourself. It just does it because it doesn't know any other way to get your attention. What happens when your child dies? The amount of outpouring love. Now, if that child didn't die, would that family feel that level of love and grief and anguish on that level for the rest of their life? Probably not. So why would the universe do that to try and make them feel deeper love and to awaken them to their real, true divinity? Is because everyone involved in the situation doesn't even believe any of this stuff that I'm talking about. That's just the way the universe works. There's things that we can do that profoundly improves our life, protects our life. It's all about making things better. None of them limit us or neglect us. So it's a very important thing. The most important thing that I can say is if you can develop and just do a little bit of work on yourself, you've reduced your chances of a chance accident happening and something bad happening by about 99%. And we don't even understand that yet. Okay? Maybe I should do a separate podcast on just that alone. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the angel numbers, synchronicities, downloads. If you've got any questions, Foodicine, Foodicine, @yahoo.com is my email. My name is Aaron Roussos. Send me an email, ask me a question. I'll either send you back on email or I'll do a podcast about it. Thanks for checking in.